It's a waiver wire Tuesday, and today we're going deep at the running back position. We're looking at the top guys. We're going down to the bottom. We're looking at handcuffs. We're looking at the trends and everything else. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going deep on the waiver wire all week. We're going to be doing a lot of deep dives this week on some of the trending players. On top of that, we're going to help you set your lineups with the must-start videos. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. Just click the button. It'll make your day better. But Isaac Guerendo enters the chat. We thought it was going to be Jordan Mason as the next man up. He's hitting IR. Of course, Christian McCaffrey's gone. Isaac Guerendo is now the hot name off the waiver wire. Now, looking at this and thinking about this full spectrum, we really have not had any running backs of any sort in like the last month or so to really chase off the waiver wire to bid for. That is walking into starter reps, starter touches. It's been since like Trey Sermon, Tyrone Tracy, Cam Akers, back when he was at Houston type of deal. We've had some scares with some running backs, but we have not had that yet. You can make a case for the Raiders backfield with Ameer Abdullah, but we have not had a running back step in that could really be a league winner or be a guy that can really help a lineup dramatically. The thing about Isaac Guerendo, due to that nature, he could bust for the rest of the season as the starting running back and still reshape things because there's not a chaser. It's him and handcuffed running backs right now. So he is a get to see what happens because a lot of you guys have been saved up for this moment because we haven't had a running back for a long time to look at. Isaac Guerendo, the thing about him though, he's a shotgun running back. He's got a crease. He could house it on any given moment. If he has room to breathe, he's going to suck up all that air. That's the type of running back he is. He's got 4.3 speed, 221 pounds. He is a guy that is on a mission when he's running the ball. We've seen that a couple times already. We've already seen that. We know what we're going to get. And this offensive line can get a good push up front. And the fact that we got a guy that's just a shotgun right out of the cannon. If there's a hole in front of him, he's going to get a good chunk of yards. And I'm very interested in this experiment. And the thing is, we're looking at him versus handcuff running backs and a couple lottery ticket running backs. So honestly, if you need to touch as the gamble on, this is your dude. Because we do not know if we're going to get another running back off the waiver wire that's going to step into a starter role. Because it could happen. We're due for it to happen for more running backs to go down. A lot of people don't even draft running backs early because they know they can play the waiver wire with running backs throughout the year. Not this year. Not this year. You only had a couple running backs this year to mess around with. That's the middle part of the season. Tyrone Tracy was the only mainstay. That being said, you got Isaac Guerendo to look at going forward. He's going to be a hot get. And if you want to blow your fab, I understand because there hasn't been any running backs to blow your fab on. There's some upside here. He could blow up. Isaac Guerendo is a guy to look at because he's going to be getting the workload and touches, and we have not seen that for a few weeks. Braelon Allen is the red alert running back. Breece Hall came out last week for a few plays and came back in with that knee issue. That knee issue is something to pay attention to, and he's a handcuff running back. He's a handcuff still, lottery ticket running back still. Nothing really has changed outside. We got a red alert with the knee issue, and the Jets lost another game. So that could inquire more touches going forward. Also, watch Isaiah Davis, the other running backs in his backfield. If something does happen to Breece Hall, or if that knee gets worse down the line, they're probably using two running backs still, and they're probably going to interchange them. But Braelon Allen would be the main guy, getting carries up the gut, running a lot of routes, getting some opportunities, some of those goal line looks. Braelon Allen was hot in the start of the season. Braelon Allen still got to look at. If I Breece Hall, I'm wrapping this up. Because he's dealing with that knee issue. He came out, came back in. Breece Hall was getting the work. And I'm wrapping that up, especially if I want to make a deep run in the playoffs. I do not want to fight for Braelon Allen in the championship game or anything like that. Or have him used against me. Or just watch him sit on somebody's bench as they laugh at me. I don't want that happening when I know for sure my dude Breece Hall has a knee issue right now that could be impacting him in the future. Kimani Vidal is an upside play here. He's explosive. We're watching Gus Edwards. He's okay. He was okay last week, but not getting a lot of touches. But we got 4 carries for 20 yards. 4 carries for 20 yards. 6 carries for Gus Edwards. Both carries and yards per carry last week were all right. Kimani Vidal, although he's got more upside, he runs a lot of routes. He runs more routes than both Gus Edwards and Hassan Haskins this season combined. He's going to be used in the passing game, and he's a big-time lottery ticket asset on this team. He has a lot of upside. He could really house it on any given run. He is a lottery ticket, and when I mean by lottery ticket, I hope you know what that means. He could give you nothing, but he could also blow up in the last few games of the season. We got the Chiefs on the road, not an advantageous situation, but potentially could be if they got to get creative and throw the ball to the running backs. And the only running back on this roster right now that's running routes is Kimani Vidal, so that's something to look at going forward. Sincere McCormick enters the chat as a speculation play, upside dandy, getting workload here. 12 carries, 64 yards, on top of 2 targets here, catching both of those passes. Think about this. They might use him going forward. They may not. It may get icky, but it's not like anybody's been undeniable in his backfield to prevent him from getting any work. So they may explore what they have in him for the back end of the season. They may start using him. They're talking him up in press conferences. He's a speculation play. He's a lottery ticket play to see what you get. And that's the same with all the other Raiders running backs right now. If you want to play this backfield, because it is the Raiders, but you can get some fancy production out of this backfield. I look at this as a lottery ticket play for some touches, opportunity, and workload. But considering what else is out there on the waiver wire, I mean, you're looking at handcuffs, and if you don't like the handcuffs, or if they're already rostered, maybe you're looking his way. Alexander Mattison should eventually be back. And if he's back, he's going to get the workload, suck up the targets, might work in with Sincere McCormick. We do not know, and it could be a few weeks down the road. We're watching his injury reports, but he's on the waivers in a lot of leagues. But he's rostered in about 50 to 55% of leagues right now. Check and see if he's on waivers, especially if you're looking for a backup on your depth chart that gets touches and workload just in case something happens to your running backs. Alexander Mattison, when he's back, will get some workload, opportunity to score fantasy points. It'll probably be up and down like it was, but he was still somewhat productive with the Raiders when healthy. Ameer Abdullah is getting work in the passing game. Not 100% reliable, nothing you want or must get, but a guy that's getting work when Zeus and Alexander Mattison is out. Sincere McCormick was getting the touches up the gut, but he's still getting workload, and it was against the Chiefs on the road. That's something to pay attention to. We got Tampa Bay, we got Atlanta coming up. We're getting targets out of the backfield. So if the workload's trending up, you're probably going to be looking at him getting some catches out of the backfield, some runs up the gut. He's still able to get you some fantasy production, but it's also the Raiders, so it's going to be up and down. Not a must-get, but somebody else to look at. Chris Rodriguez started getting touches out of this backfield. We're nicked up with injuries with the Commanders here, with Austin Eckler and the concussion. We're on a bye week on week 14, so you might be able to get by another week without picking him up. However, this is a running back to pay attention to. On top of that, week 15, Austin Eckler might be back. However, we saw 13 carries and 94 yards and a touchdown. He's got good vision. He can pound it between the tackles. He could be used down the stretch. Something to pay attention to. Just watch how he's being used, or just pick him up the stash if you got the spot. Tank Bigsby is an up and down running back. He's kind of like the Quentin Johnston of running backs, because he'll light your house on fire and heat your home. When you start him, he'll make you cry, and when you bench him, he'll make you cry. That's the type of running back he is. But if you want a running back that's on the field for a good clip, getting a good snap share, seeing touches, targets, being used in the offense, ran 21 routes last week. If you want that, that's a running back you can go after. Tank Bigsby's being used in this offense, getting good opportunity. That's something you may want as a guy that you're throwing in your lineup willy-nilly to see what happens, because again, like I said, kind of like a Quentin Johnston of running backs, where you don't know what you're going to get. He's either going to be okay as the top-end RB2, or he's going to give you nothing like 6.75 PPR fantasy points or 5.7, or like the 2 weeks prior of like an 18, 15, and a 33. Those leagues got different rules right there due to carries and stuff, but still can get you volume on the ground and score touchdowns. Looking at Trey Benson, top-tier handcuff. James Conner's legit. We're not looking at him being usurped or anything. James Conner's good. He got the contract. However, if something happens or they want to explore more Trey Benson, you got him. There are some games where he's starting to get a lot of workload and some games where it's tailing back. That being said, if I have James Conner, I'm getting Trey Benson. I'm wrapping that up. I do not want Trey Benson used against me in the fantasy playoffs. I don't want him sitting on somebody else's bench if James Conner goes down. I'm just wrapping that up if I got the space. Tyler Allgeier, the perfect handcuff for Bijan Robinson, because we know that he's going to get all the work if Bijan Robinson goes down. He's going to get 20-plus opportunities. That's touches and targets, and he's going to get a lot of work, and he could volume into fantasy production. He has 1,000 yards under his belt during his rookie season. He can be productive as the Lone Ranger in his backfield. That's something to look at. If I have Bijan, I'm looking at Tyler Allgeier, and I might look at him in general because out of the handcuff lottery ticket running backs, he's actually one of the safest. I know he's not going to be messed with. I know how he's going to be used, and I know more than likely what's going to happen. He's going to get a lot of work. There's going to be games where he's scoring 10, 12 fantasy points, and other games where he taps into upside. Jaylen Warren, if Najee Harris goes out, everybody's going to want him. He also has potential to score on any given Sunday well in fantasy football, catching passes out of the backfield, crossing the goal line. He's one of those handcuff 1B running backs on the waiver wire that you can look at, and you know that you might get a little something out of it. If your lineup's stretched out that bad where you need handcuffs that's getting the rock, Jaylen Warren's doing that. Not 100% dependable, but he is also getting enough workload where he could surprise you on any given Sunday. Ray Davis, he's not getting a ton of workload right now, but he's also getting enough opportunity where he could do something on any given Sunday. If James Cook goes down, you're going to want Ray Davis, and we know what Ray Davis looks like without James Cook. We saw that against the Jets earlier this season. He could blow up. He's good between the tackles. He's a trustable running back. He's a good 1B running back to have on your bench, on your depth chart. Ray Davis is a good lottery ticket to have. Jaylen Wright is a shotgun running back. Jaylen Wright's pretty much another Isaac Guerendo, where if he jumps into the opportunity, he's just a shotgun waiting to happen, waiting to explode. If he sees the crease, he could house it on any given play. Starting to get a little bit more workload, but in week 13, it kind of nosedived. We got some questionable matchups coming up, but Jaylen Wright, if something happens, Devin A. Chen, everybody's going to want him to his back moving the football. Jaylen Wright is that upside lottery ticket dandy. Jonathon Brooks outscored Chuba Hubbard in fantasy points last week. On top of that, we're starting to get more workload. We're used a little bit more in the passing game, and we're expecting him to run 11 to 12 routes per game. That's what Miles Sanders was doing. We're expecting him to be more effective than Miles Sanders, which means there could be upside with that little bit of workload. And that could increase off of Miles Sanders' workload by like 5 to 10%. Meat shielding Chuba Hubbard so he's fresher for the back end of the season. And that could allow him to be productive in fantasy football. And we got a hell of a schedule coming up. Cowboys, Cardinals, we got Philly. And then these games with the Panthers are always crazy anyways. Jonathon Brooks is a tremendous stash, a tremendous lottery ticket player. Shouldn't be on waivers, should be rostered, but he's also got a lot of haters. Blake Corum's got a lot of haters, but if I got Kyren Williams, I'm making sure I got him nabbed up. I'm making sure I got him rostered. 8 carries, 42 yards last week. He's going to be getting touches if something happens to Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams gets way too many touches, so way too many opportunities to take that wrong hit. Blake Corum is good in his own right. 3rd round draft pick, good at Michigan, very productive out of college. Jack of all trades, master of none type of running back. This is a running back that will carry his lunch pail and eat the dinner. Blake Corum, if given the opportunity, will be fantasy relevant. If something happens to Kyren Williams, which has happened the last 2 seasons, not this year yet, maybe not, hopefully not, you're going to want Blake Corum. It's a good insurance policy to have. You need to have an insurance policy for your top running back anyways. Blake Corum is like one of the better insurance policies in the National Football League. Antonio Gibson's starting to get more working opportunity. I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. But if I'm in a deeper league and he's sitting there and picking him up and seeing what I can get out of him, he's running routes, he's getting opportunity. That being said, not a trustable running back, but if you need touches, this guy's explosive, and he could do something on any given Sunday. Cam Akers, the handcuff to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had an injury history last year. He's doing all right now. He's trucking pretty good, but if something happens, you're going to want Cam Akers. And he's also getting some work in this offense as a standalone guy for fantasy, but not enough to be really usable. But Cam Akers, a good handcuff running back for the stretch. If I got Aaron Jones, I might be thinking about this, but honestly, I probably have another running back that I drafted earlier, in my draft that I probably got to handcuff first. That being said, you may not have the space on your roster to handcuff Cam Akers, but there you go. Waiver wire in a nutshell. Isaac Rondo, lottery tickets that are not trustable, bunch of handcuff running backs. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.